The Central Club.
What's going on, people? Welcome to the Central Club. This episode is brought to you by Reinspire Printing and Weekend Defender. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the club, and hit the bell button to be notified of future content. We haven't been in the studio filming a podcast in a couple of weeks now. The weather's been really, really nice here in Wales, and we've been out venturing into communities, speaking to people, basically vlogging. I've been loving doing that content, but to be honest, I have missed being in this studio, and it feels like a long time since we have been in this studio. The first ever vlog we did, and what really set a precedent for us to do these vlogs, was a few months before we started doing these ones consistently. And you might remember, we actually went to Newport town centre. Well, in that vlog, we met a person, someone who I had known of for many, many years. Actually used to be a good grime MC from Newport called Breezer. Well, now he's here. And if you remember in the vlog, he has turned to Christ. He's now a religious man. And a lot of people were like, get him on the podcast. So, of course, by public demand, we are here now with Joe James.
Great. Nice to see you.
What's happening, mate? You okay?
I'm good, thanks. Good.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, exciting times, isn't it? And no better place now at the moment in Wales to voice your opinion, I suppose, than the Central Club.
Yeah, yeah.
For you.
Well, yeah, thank you for putting that out there. Like, I do really appreciate that. People recognise this as a platform that they can speak freely.
Sure.
I don't want this to be that rebellious channel that just gets anything on. But like, I really do believe that we are a voice through adversity, and people who have gone through struggles in life.
Yeah, yeah.
But also people who have that opinion that maybe don't fit the mainstream narrative.
Sure.
So thank you for that. And thank you for coming on. So let's go back a little bit, Joe, before, we dive into some of the, probably controversial stuff, let's say.
Yeah, thought-provoking.
So you're a Newport boy, yes?
Yeah, sure.
What part of Newport are you from?
So, I've lived in many areas in Newport. I grew up in Pearl. And then at the moment, I'm living in Betus or Betis. But I've lived all over. But most of my life was spent in Pearl, from a young age to my teenage years. But yeah, a lot of travelling due to family circumstances.
And for the people who don't know about Newport, like, what is the place like?
Which one? The whole city, or?
Yeah, growing up in Newport as a whole, and what are the people like?
So you have to be careful, because as soon as you say one bad thing about where you come from, everyone hates you. If you say good things, everyone loves you. But I like the truth, and I like to be honest. I think it's like every other area. I think you've got good and bad. I think it's gone downhill over the years due to, obviously, the economy and drugs and sin, essentially. But I think it's full of diamonds in the rough as well. There's a lot of talented people in Newport. There's a lot of people with loving hearts in Newport. But then you've also got scumbags like you have everywhere else. So I'd say it's just like anywhere else, really, balanced.
Yeah, I think Newport for a long time was probably had a reputation of being probably one of the most roughest cities in Wales. There's not many to pick from anyway. We've got about 7 cities, and some of them are very small. But behind, in front of Cardiff, Swansea, people say Newport is, you're on the border, Bristol, and just across the waters and stuff. I love the place. I do.
Same.
I've worked there for a few years in drug and alcohol services as well. Yeah. So being an addict for well over a decade and then working in those communities, was really rewarding. And to meet the people in Newport, the accent is just
a strange one, isn't it? Because we get told by the English that we sound Welsh, but then by the Welsh people, they say that we sound English. We're like in the middle army sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's like nobody would have you. I'm really joking.
Yeah,
no, and Newport only became recognised as a city. What was it? 2000? I don't even know the year, but it was a county or a town for years, and but it is a city, and so it should be. There's a lot of good stuff in
Yeah,
Newport.
yeah.
The town centre's developed a lot.
Some of it. A lot of the
Yeah.
other shops, if you notice, when you were walking down the commercial road, that's the main street. They're shut.
They're shit.
And-
They're actually not just shut. Yeah, they are shit. But you've got the retail area, you know.
The Friars Walk.
Yeah, which is just like any old
yeah,
centre.
Your
you know.
JD and your usual stuff.
But Commercial Street, which got some beautiful buildings.
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely
When you look up.
breathtaking. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And Newport has a lot of history with the Chartists. And,
Yeah.
You know, you got John Frost Square. You know, that place should be it should be vibing. It should be vibrant, you know?
I know. I just think, I know this is probably conspiracy theory again, but I think that, like other areas, it's being made more difficult now to own a shop. It's almost like they want to push people to start shopping online more. So I think they up the rates for the rent so people can't afford it. You know, they don't make it so it's easy for people to make money anymore off their own back. So then what you find is the little man's being shut down, and then the bigger corporations and the bigger businesses, they're like for example, in your Friars Walk, you've got your KFC, you've got your JD, you've got your Next, and all those ones.
Yeah.
They thrive, but the little man, it would have just had a little cake shop or butchers, or they're being shut down.
Or
'cause
he'd
they
have his
can't-
own little kind of, you know, sports shop
Well,
where he would
yeah,
bring stuff
sure,
in.
sure.
But he's making his own money and he
Yeah.
can't afford that now.
No.
And but rest assured, there are vape shops. There are
there's about 20
barber
vape shops, 20
and,
barber shops. Yeah, there's.
and I think where's the justice in that as well. You know.
If you like smoking and having your hair cut.
Well,
every day.
Well, this is what it is. Let's,
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to I don't want it to sound conspiratorial, but this is a fact. You know, what are the only things thriving in this world now? Materialistic things.
yeah.
Oh, I gotta get my hair cut.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta get my nails done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta get my tan done. Yeah,
Yeah, things for the
and
flesh.
and I want to smoke. All bad habits and materialistic things. You know.
Yeah.
The time of the fruit and veggies that would be thriving, which was good for your body.
Yeah.
You know, okay, some fruit and veggies are still about, but not like it used to be.
No. And just a lot of shops are just closing down because obviously it's the import price that people got to pay as well. So that it's more expensive for people to buy the product to sell now as well. They just it just feels like life at the moment is just being made purposefully difficult for everyone. That's what I believe.
And would you say that this is the case all over the world? Because I know it's easy for me to say this because I live here, but I just feel like it's nowhere like Britain at the moment. We are really struggling. I don't think you see high streets like this up in any other countries, mate.
So we're also spoilt because when you go to some parts of the world as well, they don't even have supermarkets. So I'll give you an example.
I'm talking about in the West, though. Like you go to
in
Australia,
the West.
you go
okay.
to any places in Europe,
Yeah.
you go to Canada, America. I don't think they're struggling like we are in terms of business rates, economy, shops.
Possibly not.
I think we're like the worst. I think we are the worst.
I
mate.
hear that. And when people go to other countries, they say like how cheap it is over there, like Western countries.
Yeah, and business. You know, people can set up a business, like
Yeah.
You know. I understand. Let's get out of the
I was
West.
gonna say, yeah, I
let's
thought-
not be selfish. The
No,
world, we're very lucky.
We're spoilt because I was going to say there was this ministry that came into my church called Asia Link. Right now, I had this attitude for years. You go in a supermarket and it is full of sugar, it is full of poison, it is full of chemicals. When you look at all the food, even the fruit is like sprayed and GMO and all that. And I used to moan a lot, you know, thinking, oh, it's just colors and chemicals in here. But then when I heard about this ministry came in and started talking about I think it was Mongolia or somewhere there in Asia. You got these children and they don't have food. Loads of vodka in the country because it's cheap, but they don't have food, and they're sleeping under buildings to stay warm at night, so they're next to the pipes. And this guy come in, ex-police officer who was working for this ministry, and he went into depth about it, and I was there like tears running from my eyes, and even stories about like this kid. And one of the things that broke me is it was speaking about this one boy, you know, that they was able to get food because of the ministry that went over there, bought them shopping, and he didn't even feed himself first. He went and fed his little sister, and I was like, my heart went. And so when after that, I thought, do you know what? Even if the food is poison, I'm not going to complain when I go into supermarkets anymore, because we've got it something different compared to some of the people out there. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time,
don't eat it though.
but I was going to say, but at the same time, then there's the flip side. Whereas you go to these countries where they're not eating much, they're fasting, which is good for your health.
Yeah, they're healthy,
and the food they're getting is more organic, so they're not getting the cancers and the diseases and the
it's
and
that
the
clever
health
dumb
issues
balance in it. Do you want to be fat and ugly, or fit and no? Do you want to be fat and pretty, or fit and ugly? You know, which one do you want to be, mate?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get that, and I think that was the film with Roddy Piper, the '80s film. You know, the one where he puts the glasses on.
Oh, They Live.
And They Live.
Is that it? Is that the one? Yeah.
It is that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Once you see it, you can unsee it.
Yeah.
My problem is, I know it's all bad for you, but I still fucking take it.
And that's the worst. We feel like a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Do you know
what am I
what?
doing?
Hate McDonald's, hate it, but then the taste is like.
But you know what? Yeah, no, McDonald's is something that, when I was a kid, like, I just fucking love McDonald's.
Addicted to it.
Like,
weird,
like, and I remember, like, what's your favorite food? McDonald's.
McDonald's, isn't it?
I'd love to have a living room full of chicken McSandwiches. Like,
Yeah.
remember Richie Rich, the film?
Yeah.
And he had his own McDonald's.
Put
Like,
something in the microwave like that, and the McDonald's comes out.
it's like, and again,
Or Spy Kids hour.
what's all that about, though, innit? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now I am much more conscious when I'm like hungry, if I'm with the missus or with Reese or whoever, and we're like, should we get a McDonald's? I'm like, no, fuck McDonald's, man.
I'm building an attitude against it as well.
Once every blue moon, it's all right,
if
but
you're on the go or something.
Yeah.
I always feel guilty after I've had it though, and it feels like it's sitting in my stomach now.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like I've eaten something nutritious.
Have you seen that photo of the McDonald's that's been kept in a capsule?
They don't rot. My mum did it. she did it with one of the muffins there, because obviously there was a program like Super Size Me and all that came out, and people were like talking about how it don't rot, and also she thought she'd try it, and she put it up on the cupboard. Not even a fly would land on it. It's probably
so where's that then?
Exactly. What's it doing? It's just breaking down, going through you, and taking nothing from it. It's mental, isn't it? But I think a lot of foods like that these days, full of sugar. That's why we're all putting on weight as well. But I'm a lazy. But
we're putting on weight. We're getting diseases. This is why,
Yeah.
You look at 1950s Britain, mate.
Yeah, I know. So they were eating a lot healthier,
Yeah.
even though they had a lot less. But you know what we don't do, which we should do more? And I think this is why people used to live longer. But I know they tried to say, like, 100 years ago, people were dying in their 30s and all. But I think when you look at the Bible, right, some of them were living for hundreds of years. And one of the things that they were doing was fasting. They weren't addicted to food.
I think the Industrial Revolution was a part of why people died early.
Sure.
50, 100 years ago.
Yeah.
That would definitely, you look at the coal tips, the steel works.
Yeah.
It was heavily polluted.
I agree.
I think that could have been a problem there, the Industrial Revolution. But before pre-Industrial Revolution, you're right. There probably would have been people living for a long time.
I watched this documentary called Old World Order, Hibbler Productions. Have you seen that? And it's showing you like the technologies.
I guess that's on YouTube.
Yeah. Look at the buildings around you today. Yeah, some of the cathedrals, right? Some of these massive buildings like Westminster and all these huge things, right?
We don't make buildings like we used to.
We don't make buildings like we used to.
So we used to build countries for God and country.
Yeah.
People build countries, build buildings.
Build buildings, yeah.
People build buildings now for self-gratification and ego.
Yeah.
I built that. I built that scrap of glass, which will rot and go away in 50 years. Some people would build, be a part of a project. They would never see it finish. You look at the cathedral in Spain and places like that. They built for hundreds of years and still not completed because you believed in what you was building it for.
Also, do you know they call it the Dark Ages? I think it was more like a church age. I think they twisted it. And when you look at these beautiful buildings, what they used to have is bells on the top, which we still have today on some.
Good for you.
Good for yeah. Go into that now. So you've got the bells on the top, and you also got the organs. But the organs they used to direct outside of the church as well. So you'd have like a church age with all these beautiful buildings and like a serenity coming from the organs, which apparently are good for your organs. That's why they're called organs. But then you'd have the bells. Now, there's some theories behind the bells that they ward off evil spirits, but also the frequencies from the bells
It's good for you. Yeah.
are good for the body.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, we are water. We are vibration, and yeah,
It's heavy stuff. Like,
well,
don't get me wrong.
you go into like Tartaria territory as well, and you
Yeah,
like, you know,
yeah, a
because
little bit on that.
they're saying that they wiped out. And
Yes.
did you know, like, did you see the footage of Dresden? What Dresden used to look like before World War II, before Britain basically
Bombed it or whatever.
flattened it. Yeah, they
go on.
reckon that was one of the last cities of the old world,
well, I can
and the
believe that.
beauty. You only got to look at drains, like
The
piping.
underground tunnels and
Well,
stuff.
just drain, like a drain pipe we
Okay.
have now. It's just a shitty plastic bit of drain
Yeah,
pipe.
sure.
Back then, it would have beautiful markings on it. It would be made out of metal.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
detail, benches, lampposts,
Yeah.
phone boxes. You know, everything was made
With love.
with love.
Yeah.
You know, and we are living in the age of convenience, where it's convenient. You know, we're building it like this because it's convenient.
Yeah, yeah.
We're eating food like this because it's convenient. I'm wearing this because it's convenient. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
years ago you'd be wearing something a lot smarter. You
Yeah.
know, so
Obviously-
we had this conversation with Calvin Robinson, the Reverend Calvin Robinson, and
Okay,
he was
yeah.
talking about, you look in the 50s, people would be down the beach with their shirts pulled up. You know, they would still be in, you know, now people wear a vest.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it is tacky, but it is, I like, it's just the way we've.
Well, we
moved
do
on.
change. You know, it's okay to change, and obviously, the population grows as well. So sometimes it's more feasible to put a quick building up to support 20 people than spend. But apparently, they weren't spending that long making these other buildings as well. That's another thing. So, what technology were they holding on to? So, I'm under the impression that, you know, before the First World War, they had technologies and they had sort of designs and ways of designing things that they sort of they destroyed through bombs and all that, kept the information for themselves, and then slowly release it to the public. So they could have been, for example, on electric scooters 100 years ago, and then you have them 100 years later.
Well, that is what they say they do, don't they?
Do you know what I
Whatever
mean?
we got out
They're
now,
ahead.
they've had
over.
That's
yeah,
it,
they're-
old toy.
Exactly.
They've got what they cannot.
But these and do you know, like, you hear London's burning, like the songs like that. So they purposely have burnt down buildings and everything, and we only have the remnants. Sometimes you got like a little. It's funny that the churches survived, isn't it? It's a lot of the old buildings that survived are the churches. I think God's saying something in that. But you know, there were cities of just beautiful buildings and structures just destroyed, and you just think, like, they obviously hiding something, and they to bring this new world order.
And what do you think this new world order looks like? Because we're living in a time right now in this country, big divide, big conversation about religion.
Yeah,
Islam is like, people call it Islamophobia, but people genuinely truly feel that like there is an agenda in this country
Yeah, sure.
of that. Like, what's your take on the whole thing, and where do you think we're going?
Well, you did two massive topics then. So Islam is like one topic in itself, and then the New World Order is another topic.
You don't think they relate?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I think that it is quite black and white. You're either with Christ or you're against Christ. And that comes in many faces when you're... See, the devil appears and manifests in many ways. And I believe false religion, Hinduism, atheism, Islam, I believe they're just some of the faces that the devil shows up in. So he'll use those and all the other things that are happening around the world, all these dodgy beliefs of, you know, that males can be females, and that's the Baphomet. There's the it's the
Half man,
it's the
half
goat head
goat, yeah.
with the woman's breasts, and like, you know, I don't hate anyone. It's not about hating anyone. It's about truth for me. What I believe is true. You know, you might disagree, and that's fine. And I think people should be open to disagree. You know, we should have a freedom of speech, whether I like it or not. I think that's what love does. It allows people to think for themselves. I think if anything is trying to be forced upon someone, especially like these gender ideologies and false religions, what I believe are false religions, if they're being forced on people, there's no love in that. And the God I serve is a God of love, who allows you to, come to him. Does that make sense? He's not, because he's the God that reigns over heaven and earth. He could just, you're all going to obey me. And we would, because who are we to fight and argue with the God who created everything? But he doesn't. He steps back and he goes, I'm going to let you come to me. Do you know what I mean? He reaches out. Don't get me wrong, and he will sometimes make a pathway for you to come to him. Especially if he knows, like, I'm definitely going to use you for this purpose. But essentially, it's free. Like when the Christians first started, they weren't going around with a sword saying convert to Christianity or we're going to slice your throat. They were being put into the lions' dens by the Romans at the time, right? So, and into their colosseums and being tortured. And what was changing the minds of people was, rather than fighting back with the lions and with the people and shouting and swearing and the rest of it, they were singing praises. They were forgiving. They were showing love to their enemies. And it transformed the way that people thought about Christianity and Christ. Whereas what we see with all the other now don't get me wrong, there's been stuff with the Inquisitions and the Roman Catholic Church and stuff, right? We can get into that shortly, but I'm not a Roman Catholic and I don't believe that the Roman Catholics are the original church. I believe it's a mixture of paganism and Christianity. You've got the two that mix, and that's why they bait the statues and stuff like that. It's a big topic though. But when it comes to
paganism is like
paganism, Satanism, like it's all sort of, it's all under the same umbrella. Do you know what I mean? It's just same building, different rooms. But so you've got all these other religions now. A phrase I like to use is every rat trap has real cheese. So with all the false religions, or in my opinion, what are false religions? There's something true to them. There'll be something that works within them. There's something that's there to deceive them. So you're not just going to join a religion and all of a sudden you've got to cut your arms and legs off, right? And then just be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life and miserable. No, there'll be something that is pleasing to the flesh. So it'll suit you in this life. Whereas, so it might be, if you join this religion, you can marry this amount of women, right? Or if you join this religion, you can take this substance and get high. But for Christianity, it's like, you follow Christ, you pick up your cross. You're here to suffer and love the lost. You're here to love people, and that takes suffering. You see, suffering and love are joint. Whenever you've got to love someone deeply, you've got to suffer.
Of course.
Because there's
attachment. You're attaching.
It's
always hard.
There's sacrifice involved when you love someone. So if you love your wife, you've got to sacrifice yourself to go to work every day, slog it out with a shovel, right? And then the money that you earn, you go and give to her to spend on her nails. Do you see where there's like sacrifice with it? Or you would give your life for your loved one. I agree. Like if they needed a kidney, you go, you can have mine. Risk your own life.
Yeah. Is there any self-gratification? Don't want to say this. Self-gratification. Because there is self-gratification, I'm sure, with you loving Christ. But is there that cheese in Christ that there is in other places? You can marry some women. You can, get high on this thing. Is there something like that in Christ, or would you argue there's not?
Well, there is and there isn't. In the spiritual sense, it's all a blessing. It's amazing, but for the flesh, it's horrible because you got to deny yourself. It's like, for example, let me take you back a little bit. When I grew up in Pearl, but I spent a lot of my time with my friend Simeon, who's West Indian, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of my life was spent around Caribbean people and that culture. So I grew up with like a sort of mixed mindset. I grew up in Pearl, but I also had an auntie who was well-to-do, so I had a little bit of experience of what it was like, with his money. So growing up then with all these different mindsets, but being bombarded with the mindset of doing evil, because essentially we're all evil. And in a Caribbean sense, I was brought up around that grime music, that gangster Channel U stuff, the weed smoking and the rum drinking, and you have to be a top shotter and a bad boy and a G and like no batty man and all that sort of that was what I was brought up around. So my thinking was always like, I want to be a gangster when I'm older. I want to be bad, right? And then you go through the stages in life where you know, what is it to be a gangster? What is it to be a bad boy? What is it to be like, you know, cool, if you like? And it's always doing bad things in there. It's always like robbing and selling drugs and sleeping around and beating up people. And it's that sort of way of thinking. When you become a Christian, you've got to deny self. You've got to go, no sex outside of marriage. And I think when you've been doing that for years and years, and then you've got to go, oh, no more. It's difficult. And you know, for me, not all, but, you know, I stumbled a lot, especially in my early years. I'm not perfect today. There's still things that, you know, that plague me because I'm still human. See, the Bible says, he that says he's without sin is a liar and the truth isn't in him. You don't become a Christian and become perfect. You start there when you become a Christian. The goal is there, but in between, it's like, sometimes you fall, sometimes you get back up. Righteous man falls 7 times, gets back up 7 times. So the point is, when you become a Christian, this flesh desires everything that's still wicked. And of course, if you like smoking weed and if you liked sleeping around and one man doesn't like having sex, it's, you know, but the Bible isn't anti-sex. It's just anti-sex outside of marriage. Like, God wants us to do things within his boundaries because it's best for us. And I used to question, well, why? It's just sex. What's wrong with having sex outside of marriage? It's just a man and a woman. And then when you deep it and you start thinking, well, what are the consequences that come from it? Broken hearts, unwanted pregnancies and abortions, STDs. Do you get me? Adultery, people sleeping with people that they shouldn't be sleeping, someone else's partner. That's all umbrellaed under sex and outside of marriage. So in a sense, when you're saying, is there cheese when you become a Christian? Not for the flesh, but it's that hope you get from knowing and loving Jesus and him loving us, and he loved us first. So the hope you get in Jesus is like, you know, that the suffering that you have in this life is going to come to an end, and it's going to be something that we can't imagine to come. You know, it's that you're going to feel whole again, because there's something missing in us all. It's that emptiness. Like we try and fulfill it with sport or drugs or sex or whatever it is. Yeah. Because I've been there trying to fulfill it. And, you know, it's a God-shaped hole. That's what it is, essentially. It's a God-shaped hole. And you won't be satisfied. It doesn't matter how much. This is why people can be rich, famous in their big mansions, and they're taking drugs and committing suicide.
You truly believe that space was created by God for you to embrace him?
This place was, yeah. Well, this is how I prove creation. So when I'm out on the streets and I say to people...
Well, it makes sense what, you know, sorry, just to quickly,
No,
it does make sense when you look at the world, how it is now and how people are.
Yeah.
It is chaos out there, isn't it? You know, and when there's been times where we have been, you know, following, you know, that path. And it seems like it was a lot more harmonious. You could say during those times, it might have been medieval times. It might be a bit barbaric then as well.
Yeah.
But it seems like, you know, people did have a lot more respect.
I think each era has its goods and its bads. So like 30 years ago, they could have been dying from pneumonia, and we got the medicine today to overcome pneumonia.
But I think if Christ was, you know, or Christianity was like really how it was years ago, where everyone went to church, in this era of technology, what a beautiful place it could be.
Well, yeah, of course. Even just by the laws of the land being, you know, Christian, and, you know, the foundations of society being Christian, and the media pushing out Christian things. Well, what are you going to have in the music? You're not going to have, you know, be a gangster. You're not going to have cheat on your wife. You're not going to have, you know,
beautiful music.
If you're a woman, go to the club and leave your boyfriend at home. You're going to have music that says, love your enemies, love your neighbor. And they say, and then it's funny, right? I was saying this to a friend the other day, right? When you listen to like the gangster music, the tempeties and all the aggressive music, it makes you like, yeah, I like this. But when it comes to the like love your family, do you know what I mean? Like people just don't, like, oh, it's cringy. Like people don't like that.
It's been shied away.
But of course, but logically, what's better for humanity? What's better for us? It's the good stuff, isn't it?
I do feel that Christianity has been demonized a lot.
100%.
It seems like there is an attack on it.
100%.
Do you think Christianity is dying in the West?
There's obviously a falling away. Yeah, definitely. There's no doubt when you're seeing churches turn into mosques, and you're seeing people constantly mocking Christianity, and you're seeing a rise in like you said, anti-Christian thinking. Yeah, 100%. But also there's this beauty because you've got this younger generation who are open and seeking, especially because obviously they've been taught things in school like the Big Bang Theory and everything came from nothing, and now they're open to something. And when I'm able to speak to younger children and younger teenagers, there's an openness. Whereas the older generation, they're very closed off a lot.
Well, I wouldn't say conversion rate. What is the conversion rate like? Because a lot of people, we're in a Christian country anyway, and their forefathers would have been Christian anyway. But yeah. But are you seeing many youngsters come to Christ? Are you seeing many people come to the church?
Well, we are. I go to a church called Emmanuel Chapel, which is in Pearl. We're seeing growth. We're seeing younger people coming in and older people. I also study in a sister church called Nodfa, which is run by Pastor John Funnell, and he is seeing major growth. And not only that, he's utilising the younger men and women to go out and get other younger men and women. Whereas I find that a lot of churches are not really evangelising like they should be, and they're not going out. They're staying in and dying out. And there's no reach or love for the lost.
I interviewed someone called Danny Tomo, who was he was one of Tommy Robinson's friends, very devout Christian. He goes to a black church, and he says they're very modern in their ways, and that is the way we can appeal to the next generation. Unfortunately, a lot of these churches are quite old-fashioned, stuck in their ways, and we have to move with the times. But isn't that also like the beauty of a religion? A lot of people would say the reason they don't, like one of the classic lines I always heard growing up was, the reason why Christianity is fake is because the Bible's been changed and all this type of stuff. So, isn't that the point, to to stick to the same word, or do you think we should move with the times?
Exactly. That's a good question. I think there's room for both. Depends on what it is. I think when it comes to doctrines and theologies of the Bible, then you go in with what the Bible teaches, and you don't change from that. So if the Bible says don't kill, you don't change that. You don't kill. And it goes for all the other things it says. But you've got the Old Testament and the New Testament very quickly. The Old Testament is a shadow of the New Testament. So we're not under Old Testament laws. We're under the law of Christ. So we follow Christ. That's why we're called Christians, and what Christ said. So if Christ said don't do it, then we don't do it. Right? There's also common sense that gets taken into account. But yeah, we're under the law of Christ, which means, and we're also under grace. But for your question is, do things change? Well, you can have modern music, but it's not
still talking about Christ, yeah.
But you keep the teachings the same, but you could have modern music, but then you've got to find a balance in that, because what can happen is it can turn from church to actually go into a performance.
That's a very good.
Do you know what I mean?
Are you not allowed to perform?
You are allowed to perform, and
because is it Islam they forbid
music? I believe, yeah. I know, and music's from God. Music is a beautiful thing, but it's obviously like everything else.
It's been taken advantage of.
Well, did you know rock and roll started? I forget the lady's name. I got a feeling it's Helen, but I might be wrong. It started with a Christian woman, rock and roll. You wouldn't think that today, would you? With your Slipknots and all these bands that glorify the devil and mock Jesus. But it actually started Christian. Even, do you know what? Freemasons started as Christians. The devil always tries to take what God gives and tarnish it and twist it. That's what he does. He never gives a full-on lie. He gives a half-truth. That's why when we look around in the world today, so many people are deceived. They trust their government like there's no tomorrow. They love watching their TVs and stuff. They love darkness rather than light, essentially, because there's, like I said, every rat trap has real cheese. So there's something that they're getting from it.
Yeah, very good point. And to talk about how you can change, I've always found that image funny of like I'm sure I've seen a film, but it's like very futuristic. We're flying, we've got helmets on. but there's still like there's like a Bible or they're with Christ. It's just a weird image,
I know, but this is the thing. See, the Bible always stands the test of time. It always lives. You can't even in countries that ban it, like North Korea. Where, do you know, in North Korea they'll put Christians into cages like this, and if the soldiers have sex with the Christians, they get done for bestiality if they get caught. So, but the point is, there's Christians in North Korea. You see, where even you can't get Bibles, or where you can't get Christians to go in there themselves and preach, God will visit them in dreams, and you're seeing that in Iran. If you go on YouTube or Google it, you'll find that a lot of Muslims in Iran, where like it's totally, you know, it's a death penalty to have a Bible, or it's a death penalty to be a Christian and preach. In those countries, they're saying that Christ is visiting them in their dreams and in other ways as well, and they're converting. So you don't, essentially, God doesn't need us, but He does use us.
I have a lot of Iranian friends, and they're Persian. They're not Arab.
Sure.
You know, and it was what happened in the 70s, which you could say history is repeating itself. The left supported the Muslims to get in, and then the lefties got, you know, away with it. And it's like what you see now on the streets with the Palestine marches. You see people with trans flags, you know, and they're supporting, you know,
gays for Palestine.
Gays for Palestine.
And I think they'd throw you off a building if you were over there. It's like I driving past the Newport Bridge.
They think they're, it's almost as if, right, and this is what I find strange and quite weird, and this I want to ask you, it's almost Christ-like in a weird way, and hear me out. Love thy enemy.
Yeah.
You know, there was one person I spoke and I thought, wow, you know, fair enough. Or do you think it is just, it's perverse in a way? Or is it that bit of cheese where it's a half-truth? The girl was like, you do realise they will throw you off a building, you know, and she was like, yeah, I know, but, I still care for these people. That's an interesting point.
Yeah. Well, actually, what you've just said obviously makes it a lot broader. So the thing is, I don't think they're educated, a lot of the people who fight the good fight all the time, whether it's Palestine and Israel, whether it's...
I think a lot of them just show up to any protest.
Vaccine, exactly. So, like, you know, I asked, there was a Palestine gathering, a Free Palestine gathering in Newport. And I said to the woman, I said, where did the name Palestine come from? She couldn't answer me. She didn't realise, she didn't know where it comes from. And I said, did you know that Israel is actually in the Quran and the Jews are in the Quran? She couldn't answer me. And you ask them what river, what sea, they don't know. So the point is that, you know, you're dealing with people who are fighting something that they're not even educated on. Maybe someone says they're middle class people who've got nothing better to do and don't have jobs, right? So they just go out and something to do. But I think when you really deep it, you could say it's loving your enemy, but you can love your enemy without, you know, letting your enemy slit your throats. You still got to put murderers in prison for the greater good. So it's, you know, and I'm not, when it comes to Israel, Palestine, I support Israel because I love Israel, because I believe God chose the Jews and Jesus was a Jew, but I don't support war. I don't, the fact that children are being blown up by bombs, I don't like that. But then I don't like the fact that Hamas use schools to fire rockets from. I don't like that either. So, you know, there is much more depth to it than what a news channel will give you. So a news channel can manipulate the minds of everyone. We just saw that through COVID. You know, look how many people panicked. They would have, for me, I think a lot of people would have drunk their own urine if that's what the government was saying would help fight COVID. Genuinely.
You couldn't mention the word.
They'd be drinking each other's urine because people were so panicked and because the media just...
But what's funny about it, right, is as a podcast that I've seen this, you should have been allowed to mention COVID. I should be able to say COVID, yeah? Because to them, this was a deadly disease that's locked us all down for years and years. If I said the word COVID, my video would be striked. So what does that tell you? There was something up.
Will it still be strike now?
I hope not.
I know. First and last podcast.
Do you know what I mean, though? It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, and anything you speak about,
Do you feel like a lot's changed since COVID, though? I feel like things have really amped up.
two things have happened. So you've had, on one side, a lot of people have woken up. Sadly, for some of them, a bit late. But a lot of people have woken up to, actually, there's something quite sinister going on within higher ups. So they've started now to do their own research. But then you've had people who've gone into bigger delusions. And I tell you why a lot of people have doubled down on their delusion. Because they have to justify the decisions that they made, not just for themselves, for their family. So let's say, for example, the vaccine now, we know it's not great, yet they're still distributing it. But we know many people have had adverse effects, right? Now, let's say I was a dad and I said to my family, you're taking it, love, and so are the kids taking it. We're all going to take it. We're all going to be safe. Forget the conspiracy theorists. Now, 3 years later, it's killed a load of people, and maybe it's still, it's lingering in their bodies. He's got to double down now. He's got to say, because he doesn't want to look wrong, because of pride.
Because he doesn't want to kill his. He doesn't want to kiss the thing.
Yeah,
I've killed you.
Yeah. So he has to go. No, this all conspiracy.
We got to have the next one.
Yeah, long COVID. Do you know what I mean? All this, that, and the other. Blame everything else, rather than the jab, for why you're being sick all the time and why your immune system's down.
It's as if they entice people to actually take something that was going to kill them.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. That's what.
This is the killer. Take this. But it's the magic trick, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look over here, but I'm going to do this here.
That's what.
And there was another bigger one than that as well. When COVID was going on, they were pushing all sorts of things going on.
Yeah, I know. They started all the 5G stuff as well, and they were doing lots of things. CERN. There was probably rituals going on.
Concern.
Can't be concerned about it. Yeah, people don't know much about CERN. Like, people think they're just there.
No, but do you remember?
Particles.
No, but do you remember? Was it a year or two ago on TikTok? Did have a couple of weeks of frenzy when they turned it on, and people were like, "Oh my god, they're turning the Hadron Colliders on," and like, but people just didn't have a clue really
what's going on.
Yeah,
people don't. This is the thing, right? And it's almost like, have you heard of that Mr. Smith thing where, like, you start to tell people about, the conspiracies. Well, I don't call them conspiracies, but you start to tell people the truth, and because it's not their truth, they have to it's like they go, dude, and Mr. Smith comes and then starts to correct you. Like, do you know what I'm on about?
Yeah.
So it's like that. So when you're dealing with a lot of people now, especially like what I said about the COVID thing, people are doubling down. It's pride, essentially. The best thing for people to do right now is to go, look, I made a mistake. I took a jab. I shouldn't have took it. I was shouting at people to lock down, and whatever you've done to
Facebook
push
was
that.
bad. People were being
families turning against families.
brutal.
And stuff. Yeah. I tell you what, people would have happily seen you. This is the saddest part, and for some Christians as well, they would have seen people being shipped off to quarantine camps during that. That's how panicked they were over it. That's how, terrified. And people.
I see Facebook statuses and they're like, it's a video of someone in the. Look at these, they're in a fucking garden party.
Yeah.
Look at him, he hasn't got his mask on.
Yeah, proper,
people would look at you if you didn't have a mask on.
They're disgusted with you. I remember I went to a shop and some woman was, get back. Because they had you in squares, right? She was behind on the till, right? With
Remember
the
that?
plastic thing up squares. Get
Make
back.
the plastic thing still on lots of
Come on.
places.
Yeah, I know, sad, isn't it? But people proper paranoid of each other, and people turned into grasses as well. That was the worst thing. You just watch people just turn on each other overnight. Like, oh, he's out there walking his dog. Is he? Second time today. I'll be on the phone.
Yeah, and do you remember as well, like football and sporting events when they brought them back in? I think the most cringiest thing for me was people are going to call me cringe for knowing about WWE.
I thought I was going to say boxing or something. Wrestling.
Right, we need to get the clip, but in WWE, they were like, so they had anyway. They had the wrestling, but they had screens in the background, and everyone could tune in on webcams and watch it from home, and they're pretending to cheer.
Like a Black Mirror
and then
episode.
When they opened it, 100% a Black Mirror episode. And then when things got a bit better, they would the restrictions lifted. Then what they did was they must have worked for WWE. They hired people right? To wear like the merch,
Yeah.
you know, they all had, he had a John Cena top on, he had this on, right? The masks, and they were behind the perspex, right? All separated, going, oh, 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 like pretending like to be
Yeah,
fans.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
mate, it was
What a
weird
cringe.
as fuck, mate. I couldn't believe it, mate. It was fucking nuts.
But that's what COVID was, wasn't it? Essentially, a WWE disease.
A Vince McMahon storyline.
Yeah, honestly. So I think a lot of people, woke up through that as well. That which is good in a sense. But those who still haven't woken up and still think it's all conspiracy and stuff, I just think you're either living in a hole or you are willfully ignorant. Do you know about willful ignorance? You've got a lot of people these days who are not just ignorant, not just deceived, but willfully ignorant, willfully blind. That means they're choosing not to believe. They're choosing not to research. They're choosing to just go with what the BBC say and not question outside of it. They're purposefully being ignorant. And I think that is dangerous. And people are also willfully ignorant when it comes to Christianity as well. People will do their research. They'll know that we're in the year 2025 because of Christ's death and resurrection, BC, before Christ, AD, Anno Domini, in the day of his Lord. They'll know those things. They'll know that there's a Jesus, right?
They'll still celebrate Christmas.
They'll say, cultural Christianity is like everyone in there, atheists, and then they'll have their kids baptized, christened.
They'll have a christening.
They'll do Easter. They'll do Christmas. They'll do all the Christian traditions.
Yeah, how does that make you feel? Is it like? Is it like, right? I'm sure you'll get those ones who are like, those lower league football team fans who are just like, they're there week in, week out, right? And then they get an FA Cup draw and you see it and you're a fucking prick. You don't even come normally. You'll have those people, but will you also have the people who are like, good, I'm glad they're actually embracing it because...
Well, I heard the story the other day that there was Jehovah's Witnesses that were celebrating Christmas, and that's why another Jehovah's Witness family left the cult. So people love Christmas, don't they? They love it. See, this is the thing. People love the things of God. They love what God has to offer. They love his food that he provides us. Everything that is good is from God, essentially. Everything that's bad isn't. When I say that, I don't mean, God can be a judge as well. But what I mean is, like, our sin causes a lot of the problems in this world, if not most of the problems in this world. And, well, actually, I wouldn't even say, let me rephrase that. Sin causes problems in this world.
Do you think technology is a blessing from God or a tool from the devil?
Dualistic. It's not necessarily a tool from the devil. The same phone, you can watch things you shouldn't be watching on. You can ring an ambulance on and speak to your loved one.
Because I truly believe, though, sorry, Joe, that a lot of people look back at Christ and Christianity and think, fucking bullshit. Look, it's evolution, it's technology. I think they feed into that more. Like, why would I go to church and pray and not do this and not do that when I could go down to the football and have a pint with the lads? And I just feel like
that's a good question, and here's the answer to that. And I've been thinking about that recently as well. So we in my church we support these people in India who are building orphanages and schools, right? But let's look at it from their perspective in India right now. So they've come to Christ, right? A lot of them. Let's say this group of people, Bajuta and his friends and family, they've known Christ. They pray. They say, God, we need an orphanage. What did you say?
an orphanage.
An orphanage. We need an orphanage for the orphans. Can you do this for us? Out of nowhere, Christian missionary comes over, starts building an orphanage. Then they'll go, Lord, these children need a doctor. We need doctors. We need a hospital. Another missionary will come over, fund a hospital, send volunteers to be doctors. Then teach them and train them how to be doctors, how to be teachers, give them schools. And then all of a sudden they've got everything. They've got their hospitals, they've got their hospitals, they got their schools, they got, all the essentials they need, shops, this, that, the other. We've had that over here. But what happens is sometimes if we're not grateful to God for what he's given us, we start to turn in on self and think it was all us. And then we'll go, rather than be thankful to God, we'll be like, why do I need a God? I've got a hospital if I get sick. I've got my supermarket if I need food. I've got my school to educate me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, why do I need that God, even though it was God that gives it to us in the first place? Right? Because these people are starting from nothing, but I'm seeing how God is using people, Christians, to go over there and help them build it all up. So what's happened over here? We've gone, we don't need God. We'll do it all on ourselves. But then what we're seeing is government breaking down now because they don't love God anymore. There's no love. Not all politicians, but 99% of politicians are probably not Christian these days. Government's falling. Look at the NHS. They removed the sisters. Do you know about the sisters?
Were they like religious?
Religious women, I think, that used to be in the hospital to make sure everyone's okay, make sure the place was clean, keep it up to a right standard. The sisters not there.
There's schools now that have got rid of Easter.
Yeah, schools getting rid of Easter and everything, and even churches getting rid of repentance and Christ, right? And accepting all these new ways of thinking, the woke.
Yeah, so
we're seeing things collapse, though, aren't we? We're seeing things breaking down now. We've removed God. See, we think we can do it without God, but we can't. There are roles given by God in the Bible that are assigned to certain genders. For example, we wouldn't want, if we were to go to war now tomorrow, would we send girls to go who are under the age of 10 to fight?
No.
Why not? Because we understand that girls under the age of 10 have their roles in the home. And I don't mean in the home as in like in the kitchen. I mean like they should be at home at that age. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
School, home, out with the friends, home. Right? We know that they're being brought up. They're not mature and they're young girls, right? And as men, I think it's instinct. It's in my instinct to want to protect.
Yeah.
Right? Children, firstly, and women, secondly. You've seen Titanic. Women and children first.
I have a child.
Yeah, exactly.
Scumbag,
right? Women and children first. So God recognizes, not God recognizes, God has given us the instructions for how it is and how to be. If someone breaks into your house, do you expect you to go and hide while your wife goes down with a baseball bat? Well, today
some people
equal
do
rights.
Yeah, equal rights. It is nuts, isn't it?
It's equal rights until it's not equal rights. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you see, Piers Morgan always tells them straight, and they're
it's
like,
silly, innit?
Well, he's like, so you're telling me if Floyd Mayweather decided to become a woman and fight, you'd allow it? Why not? I don't see why not. And you're like, why are you
being realistic?
Yeah, like
it's delusion, isn't it? Like.
So
let me ask you a question. Can I ask you a question?
No,
I know it's your podcast, but would you be happy to let your child into a nursery run by transgender men?
No.
I'd say no more, but I think it's common sense. Why?
And I know some people say, I don't see why not, but like there's a part of me that thinks, I'd have to scope them out, like maybe, but naturally inside I'm just going, no, no.
No, not. You'd want women, young, smiley women looking after each other because there's something warm about that, something natural about that, isn't there? That's. So my way of thinking is, I love transgender people. I don't hate them. Just like I got friends who are thieves. I love them. But I don't love the fact that they steal.
Yeah.
Right? I got friends who are Muslim, right? When I say friends, there's people who I know and get on with who are Muslims. I'm not saying that, we're in each other's houses every day. No, there's people who I know who are Muslims and they're really nice people. But I hate Islam. So you can hate the ideology, you can hate the sin without hating the sinner. And I think people convolute that. Because they'll say, because you hate stealing, you automatically hate the thief.
Well, you could say I hate McDonald's, but my missus loves it.
Yeah.
I hate that she eats it.
Yeah.
But I love her.
Exactly. So And I only hate these things because I think deep down they don't help the people. They destroy the people and take them away from God.
Do you feel in other religions it's not the case? They actually hate
Yeah,
the people.
no, they do. They hate the person. Yeah, they hate the Christian.
Really?
Well, I know. Yeah, because I'm in a church and I'm seeing ministries and hearing stories, and my church is very multicultural. So there's people from all over the world.
Where, like, in Africa?
Yeah, people from Africa, people from India, Sri Lanka, or everywhere, right? Pakistan. They'll tell me what it's like in those countries for Christians. I also speak to Christians over there. Then we have ministries coming in once a month telling us, look, in Africa, stuff that doesn't make it to the mainstream news ever.
Yeah, it's funny though, isn't it?
Always to do with Christians. It never
Yeah,
makes it to the
any other,
news.
they do get...
And they're getting slaughtered in parts of Africa, in the Congo and stuff like that.
But it's funny, isn't it? How, like, people will have a go at the British and the government and say, yeah, you know, you back Israel, you back Israel. But to be honest, what I've seen on the news, it's been like really sided with Palestine, a lot of it.
Yeah.
You know, and they are showing it on the coverage. They've never shown any of the African slaughters.
And another thing with Israel and Palestine, right? If Israel didn't have that dome, do you know the Iron Dome? How many rockets would have gone into Israel?
Before October 7th.
Before that. How many rockets? So if it wasn't, let's remove the Iron Dome. Like, how many rockets would have gone into Israel and destroyed people?
I agree.
Do you know, people
We
don't think about
interviewed
things
Robert
like that.
Earnshaw, Cardiff City legend. He played for FC Tel Aviv. And this was before October 7th. This was years ago. And he was saying how he'd been there football training and the sirens are going off because rockets are attacking Israel. So, you know, it's always happened.
They're
like.
always, I know.
People just don't like the idea of you know, the open prison, let's say, don't they? That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest.
Well, we're all in an open prison to a degree, I think. I think we're all in it.
Yeah, I agree.
I was in some meeting a few years back with a guy who works in Gaza, Israeli guy, works in Gaza in a hospital, and he was saying about how the Hamas soldiers, when they're bleeding out, they'll take the blood off their own people. Like, if they'll take a child, drain the blood off their own child to give to the soldier because it's for the greater good. Stuff like this you don't hear in mainstream news. But this guy was a doctor who worked with Palestinian people.
Do you think that, I want to ask you a question. Do you think that hospital is still standing?
What hospital, mate? Oh, the one that's, I couldn't tell you. I probably have newsletters from them, but because I give them my email and stuff.
You was just speaking about young child having a place and stuff. What's your take on the in Islam, how they say at an age of puberty they could be married and stuff? How does that make you feel?
So you're talking about Muhammad, where it speaks about him when the hadiths that he married Aisha when she was 6 and he had sex with her when she was 9. Paedophilia. That's a harsh thing to say, and I'll probably put a fatwa on my head. But that is what I believe paedophilia is a man having sex with a child. So any man who has sex with a child is a paedophile.
I spoke to...
Or what do you call a man?
I interviewed Ali
Dawa.
Dawa, and he said that, you know, it was a reflection of the times. So
here's the thing. So that you've got problems with that. 2 problems with that. If the times were okay to do it then, and they're not okay to do it now, then does that make Muhammad then worth following, but now not worth following? Do you know what I'm saying? So, like, his example of how to be, can we follow that today? Because we don't agree with that today also.
I think it's like the COVID thing, the double down, isn't it?
It's the double down. And do you believe in evolution? Then that would go against God creating. So do you believe that 9-year-olds were, you know, looking like 18-year-olds back then?
That's
and
devolution.
Do you know what I'm saying? So, no, I think that's just an excuse. It's an excuse. And, you know, however you try to word it or think about it or you know, get around it somehow, I'd like to ask a Muslim, right, would you be happy to sleep with a 9-year-old? Would you be happy for a 56-year-old man to sleep with your 9-year-old daughter? Would you be happy with it? And I have asked Muslims that, and do you know what they say to me? No. So I think well, and this is where it goes back to like who you follow is who you become, right? So when we look at all the characters in the world, when we see people, they follow hooligans, then they become like the hooligans. We see
people who follow John Cena. I'm going on about wrestling again, but you know, a John Cena fan as a kid, they want to be dressed. You can't see me. No. But they dress up. I want to be John Cena. You know, as a kid, you want to embody your hero.
Yeah, Spider-Man costumes.
You know, like you think you're a rapper. I'm wearing FUBU.
Yeah, I'm going to start wearing fat chains and FUBU and all. Yeah, Wu-Tang. So, but it's the same thing. So whoever you follow, you become. And this is why Jesus said, follow me, right? And when we look at all the characters in the world, right, all the people that have lived, who is the best example, role model to mankind? It's Jesus. Hands down, didn't sin. He was the one who sat with the drunkards. He's the one that sat with the prostitutes, the people who were sick and covered in boiled sores. He went and he loved them. He loved the worst of the worst. He loved his enemies. He loved the tax collectors who were hated at the time, right? He loved everyone and he loved the worst of the worst. And not only that, he teaches us to love our enemies. He's the hero who dies for the villain. You don't get that with other religions, other characters. With other characters, you get murdering to spread their truth. You get they're liars, or there's some sort of sin. They've had multiple wives, or there's something that's wrong with them. You'll see a wrongness in their character. I don't care if you're Buddha. They'll either point to Christ, but deny his deity, or there'll be some acknowledgement of Jesus, because they knew back then about Jesus, like we know today. He was the perfect example. So if you're going to follow the perfect example, you're going to become like the perfect example.
I think the fact that Jesus Christ is like such a common word people use, like that man's name is still around, like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, it's the only. Another thing is people use it as a word to express disgust. So the man who loved, the man who died for sinners, the man who helped.
I think it's like because it's wrong. Oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah. I know what you're saying, and it is. It's like Jesus Christ.
People, people use
rather than Jesus Christ,
and it hurts when people say it. Like, I feel it, because I think, well, I've got the Spirit of God living within me, so there's a like a. I don't know. It quenches the spirit to a degree, and it.
Have you had any attacks for being Christian, more so recently in Newport?
Oh, there's always verbal attacks, and there's always sort of, you get the odd person who might spit or slap. I've been all right, and maybe that's to do with my size, but it's not always the case. You'll have people, it doesn't matter, short, and they'll come up in your face and stuff, but you just got to show love. Yeah. It's all about love at the end of the day. I'm not out to preach hate. I'm not out to tell people, don't do this and don't do that. I'm there to say, look, we're all sinners. Charles Spurgeon put it like this: I'm a beggar showing other beggars where the bread is. I'm a sinner showing other sinners where the Savior is. Do you know what I mean? And that's all it is. And people hate it. And I think to myself, like a woman yesterday, I was in Cardiff preaching, evangelizing, and some woman went past and she was enraged and she was shouting, "Shut that," swearing and all that. Like, no, not that. I know who you're on about. Ninja's sister, I think you're on about, and are you on about her? Yeah. No, not her, but she always attacks. But this was.
But it's like as if they got the devil in themselves, isn't
it? Honestly, sometimes you can see it in people and hear it. And she was really going nuts about it. And these two old women, like, they could see it was a bit like disgusting how she was acting. I said, listen, they weren't Christians, I don't think. And I said, look, before I was a Christian, she said, she's shouting at Christians. I said, before I was a Christian, I was a criminal. I was like doing this and this, like up to no good. And I said, but when I became a Christian, Jesus changed my heart.
I look like a weirdo now.
Yeah, rather than being selfish, now I live sacrificially, so I help others now rather than take. And I said, that's what Jesus done for me. So why are people shouting at something that's helping people? Like I said on the other podcast, Christians are running the rehabs. Most of the rehabs in this country, the food banks, helping with the homeless, the night shelters. So where we're doing all this for, society, and people go, "Oh, we don't need Christianity. It's something of the past." Well, I don't see these big atheists or this big, any other religion or anything else setting up so much help and charity for society than the church. Whether you hate the church or not, whether you've had, this is the thing. If you've had a bad experience within church, don't blame, God. Men will be in, but sinners like us will be everywhere. Do you know what I mean? So you're going to get hurt by people wherever you are in life. It doesn't matter. But you get hurt by your own family at the end of the day. You got a wife or missus? Do you argue with her? Do you hurt each other sometimes? That's what happens in life. We hurt one another because we're flawed. Do you know what I mean? Like we're sinners by nature. By nature, we do things that are wrong. This is why we need a savior. This is why we need to be born again and have a new start. Does that help a little bit? So going on to what I was saying, yeah. So people hate it, but I don't think they either hate it because they love evil, or they hate it because they don't understand it.
Joe, where do you think we're going, mate? It's 2025 now. A lot of wars all over the world, a lot of deceit, a lot of unknown certainties. And tell us, what's your kind of foresight saying?
So I'll just list off a load of conspiracies. I think they're dimming down the sun with geoengineering. I think there's a war. Let me go back. I think there's a war going on between light and darkness in spiritual places, in the spiritual realm.
Yeah, who the fuck dims the light, dims the sun?
Dims the sun. Like when you really think about it, when you really deep it, you're like, there's someone out there trying to block the sun. Like what? And people are just like, yeah, shopping, football.
They've believed so much about global warming.
Or do you believe it's a globe?
Flat Earth warming.
I am flat Earth warming. 100% flat.
I don't know, mate. I just feel like
researcher. It's definitely
no. I have, and people call you batshit crazy for researching it.
Yeah.
But
it's flat.
I'm not saying it's round. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. We haven't been there, so yeah, I'm open.
Yeah. Well, when I look at the Bible, it says two things. It says something about the firmament. You've probably heard that, which is the dome, which they put subliminally in a lot of programs. And it also speaks about planets. They're called wandering stars. Now, I don't believe the Earth is a star. The Earth was created before the stars. The stars and the sun and the moon are there for lights upon the Earth, right? That's what I believe. It is a rabbit hole to go down. I didn't just believe it straight away. So the person who tried to show me, I was arguing against him. I was trying to disprove him and all, and I got quite upset with him, actually. That's how ingrained the globe is into people's heads. But the deceit behind the globe is a few things to make people think that there's an infinite...
We're not special.
We're not special in an infinite universe that came from nothing. So it's the Big Bang model, right? Once it exploded, once nothing exploded and everything came, right? So you've got that, which paves the way then for thinking about aliens. So if these fallen angels come and these demons manifest themselves, we can believe that they're just aliens. So there's a lot of alien propaganda all the time, UFO propaganda, alien propaganda. Also, they can use the globe then for control, global warming. Do you know what I mean? So everything that we see, I believe...
You've lived in an ice age before, mate. Like it just happens to be. But now what we're trying to do is manipulate it to stay around. It's fucking wrong. We should just let nature take its path.
They're destroying everything. These people, because essentially this is how it is. They're worshipping the devil. There's a lot of people, but there's definitely a select, numerous amount at the top, the high ups. They worship the devil. They serve the devil. Does the devil want what's good for us? No, he wants us to die. He wants us to be firstly separated from God for an eternity, and thirdly dead, in hell. That's what the devil wants. So firstly, he gets everybody to want to be their own gods. I am God. I'll live life how I please. Or to make up a God in your own image that suits your lifestyle, right? So people be like, yeah, well, I believe in God. I believe in a higher power, but, I'm still allowed to do this. Do you know what I mean? There's no morality. So the first thing is let everyone do as they wilt. do what you want, live how you please. Then secondly, is to get you to kill yourself, to die, be separated from God for eternity. So, essentially, you could sum it up to he wants to separate us from God for eternity. If he can get us to glorify him on the way, he will. And how do we glorify him? We glorify him by destroying ourselves, by destroying each other, by going against God's word, by harming the earth that God has created for us. It's all like putting middle fingers up to God. And one of the worst things people can do to put their middle fingers up to God is harm children. And you've probably heard of adrenochrome, right? It's taking what is most innocent on the earth and killing it. And it's done through many ways. Abortion is one way. A lot of people disagree with that, no doubt. But the other ways are, just paedophilia, sacrificing children. Do you know, there's something, child trafficking now is outweighed drug trafficking. There's so much sexual abuse going on for children right now in the world, and a market for it. Do you know, like how we've had this boom of homosexuality and transgenderism and
pedophilia? It's as if they're going to add that into like LGBTQP next. That's how I feel.
It's there. Well, the paedophiles are pushing that because it's the Pandora's box for them.
And is that an angle where the left and the other religions fit a narrative of, well, yeah, if that's normal, I'm able to marry it?
Wherever there's false religion, wherever there's Satanism and evil, there's children being hurt. Pick a religion, Hinduism. In parts of India, they allow the child to starve and they'll say he was a bad person in his past life. Rather than go and kill a cow, the cow's sacred, make a hamburger, feed the child. They feed the cow, walk past the child and say the child's suffering because it was a murderer or someone evil in his past life. Wherever there's false religion, children get hurt. Roman Catholicism, a lot of paedophilia in the Vatican, in there.
Yeah, what do you think about?
Well, it's evil. But the Bible says to put a rope around their neck, cast them into the sea. Put a noose around their neck or whatever it says, cast them into the sea. Basically, don't tolerate people who harm children. I get passionate over it because I was also part of an organisation called PCP Wales to do with the RSE, the sex education for children. Now, there's two people, especially who I've got on my Facebook. It's Kimberly Isherwood and Kat. I forget her second name. She got married recently. They would be good for this podcast because they'd be women running the fight against sexualization of children in schools. Can you believe it? Women are doing the fighting. But I was part of that, and I'd sit in a lot of their what would they do, seminars and stuff. And you'd watch some of the videos and see what's actually going on, and it blows your mind. And then I'd be on Facebook, because they would do my head in with what I've seen so much and anger me up. I'd go on Facebook and I'd write something, and I'd just have everyone going on there like, oh, it's conspiracies, oh, it's not true. Then come a couple of years later, I'm seeing parents, right, moaning that their children are learning about things they shouldn't be learning about in schools. But it's too late.
Where are they doing these seminars?
They do them all the time. You'd have to.
I'm just really curious because I'd be surprised people booking them in.
There's not. Well, no, they have to rent the rooms out themselves, and they don't get many. It's disgusting. So they would rent the Neon out in Newport, and you'd have about 50 people out of the whole of Wales come there to stand up against the sexualization of children. What?
Bonkers, mate.
People don't care anymore.
Bonkers. Joe, thank you for coming, mate.
It's okay, brother.
I hope people will enjoy this. I know a lot of people will. I know some people will think you're batshit crazy. They'll think I'm batshit crazy as well, because some of it I've agreed with. What we do with all our guests, we ask them to leave us with a message down to their camera. Your camera is by there.
Which one now? The red light or the one to the right?
No,
yeah, sure.
Give us something, mate.
Right. One last thing. So I'm going to try and sum this up into a 2-minute sentence. What we're seeing in the world right now is a world being prepared to worship the Antichrist. He's going to come as a man, like God came as a man through Jesus Christ. He's going to come in and he's going to deceive the nations. He's going to come like a man of peace. He's going to cause the world to take his mark, which the Bible says is the mark of the beast. It could be a chip, but it might not be, but it'll be used for buying and selling. regardless of these facts, these conspiracy facts, and, well, they're not conspiracy, these truth facts, is the most important thing you'll ever hear today, is that Jesus Christ came 2,000 years ago to die on the cross for your sins. We're all sinners. We all fall short. If I was to ask you a question, have you ever lied? Have you ever stolen? Have you ever done anything as such that is bad? One thing that will count you out, because heaven is a place for either forgiven people or perfect people. So you have to be either forgiven or perfect, and being forgiven can only be done through the shedding of the blood of Jesus Christ. What happened on the cross 2,000 years ago, where he died and resurrected for our sins, still remains true today and will always remain true forever. You can deny this, and if it isn't true, you've got nothing to lose. But if it is true, you've got everything to lose. I don't hate anyone, and I don't hate the groups I've even spoke against, if you like, in this podcast. I love everyone like Jesus loved everyone, but I disagree with their lifestyles just as much as I disagree with my own lifestyle at times. But love is the key. Christ is love. Christ is king. The earth is flat, and Yeshua is coming back again. God bless.
Joe, thank you very much.
God bless you, bro.
We'll see you soon.
Take care.
Stay central.
The Central Club.